Welcome to Past the Wire TV, your #1 source for horse racing news and interviews, handicapping analysis, betting insights, and more. Past the Wire TV covers the biggest races at the best tracks.
Garnet and Luis Saez to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
The Grey Wizard is absolutely flying. Champagne won. The Grey Wizard. Oh, it's very close. Leave it to the judge.
Like, share, and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
The real takeaways, the ones that matter, are the ones that we can do something with going forward. Remember, knowledge is not free. You have to pay attention.
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Big horse, but light on his feet. And he's always showed up and been consistent and been right there with some of the top horses in training. In the Bluegrass Stakes, he showed his determination and his raw ability.
It's over! Zandon wins the Toyota Bluegrass!
I feel breeders will be really blown away by what a striking, outstanding looking horse he is.
Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com. Ciao, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Our Belmont Takeaways 2024 show. I got to start by saying this is one Belmont Stakes I'm glad was over. Got my butt kicked last Saturday. Not the first time. Won't be the last time. The key is, what can we get out of this to benefit from going forward? That's always how I try and look at the takeaways. Gio did a really nice job talking about the race, the outcome, how it played out relevant to how he handicapped the race. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to try and look for things that we can benefit from going forward and maybe cash some tickets and make some scores. And when you have a day like that, the bottom line is this: you got to just turn the page. Everybody in this game is going to be wrong more than they're going to be right. The key is to capitalize when you are right and make it count and erase those losses and bad memories. And contrary to a lot of people love to talk about the winners and the great scores that they made. And that's fun. I like to do that too. But I as much like to talk about the beats and the losers and see, did I do something wrong? Did I make a mistake? Did I miss something? Or did I just call it wrong? And I'll get into all of that. Two horses considerably fooled me this year, and not so much by their past performances, but by what I rely on most, and that's my eyes, my own personal observations. I go heavy on my own personal observations, and I was definitely wrong about a couple of things with Dornock, and I was certainly wrong about a couple of things with Forever Young, who, as we know, ran huge in the Kentucky Derby. And I was wrong on Bookham Dano, even though we'll get to that, and that had nothing to do with the Belmont Stakes. But not as wrong on Bookham Dano as on the other two. Now, I went back and I looked at the bets I made, and I looked at how I handicapped the races, and I didn't make any wagering mistakes. I didn't miss anything. I just called it wrong, and that will happen sometimes. And you turn the page when that happens. It's going to happen. I don't sweat it. Why? Because I know in the long run, I'm good enough to make it count at this game when I'm right, and erase those kind of losses. But Dornoch fooled me. I had said all along that I never thought he'd beat Sierra Leone again after that race in the Remsen. And a lot of people think he ran better than Sierra Leone in the Remsen. I didn't. I knew he was game, and I knew he was tough, and I knew he came back on the rail. But I thought Sierra Leone, with that big wide move, had every right to kind of fall apart, and that horse to come back on the inside, Dornoch, and get him. And he did. And I thought Sierra Leone would go forward a lot. And I was sure that I was right after watching the Fountain of Youth and watching the Bluegrass, because I was there for the Fountain of Youth. I wasn't at the Bluegrass, but obviously I watched it. But I was there for the Fountain of Youth, and Dornoch didn't impress me. He didn't impress me the way he got over the track. He didn't impress me the way he won. He was supposed to win. And the horses he beat, the field he beat, didn't impress me at all, whereas Sierra Leone did in the Bluegrass. So, as it turned out, I was wrong. Dornoch did beat Sierra Leone in the Belmont, aided a little bit by the track, but we'll get to that as well. But you're wrong. You turn the page, you go on. You're not going to be right every time, and no excuse. I called that one wrong for sure. Now, the track did certainly help Dornoch, and Dornoch, if anything, might have had a worse trip than I gave him credit for in the Kentucky Derby. But the Derby, there's a lot of rough trips, and I just didn't think he would be good enough coming out. We had Danny Goggin on the show. He was very confident, going into the race. He was delighted to get off that, dreaded Derby rail that we talked a lot about leading into the Derby. But, I definitely sold him short for the win end and paid the price. Now, there was a lot of talk about the track being, fast and speed favoring. And I've done a lot of shows and a lot of articles about true track biases and false track biases. And yes, Krupe did win, and Bookham Dano, interestingly enough, did win from off the pace. But when you look at the entire Belmont Festival, bulk of dirt races, I would have to say the track was fast and was, if not biased, certainly speed friendly. There were a lot of races where it was just tough to make up ground and the speed held, and a lot of tired horses looked like they got home with the aid of that speed-friendly track. So I don't think that helped Sierra Leone at all, but I don't think it made the difference. And, taking nothing away from Dornoch, he went out and won the race fair and square and ran a big, powerful game race. No question about it. One of the things I think we'll benefit from are, watching replays and looking at charts and handicapping horses that ran during the Belmont Festival on the dirt, coming back on a more honest or a more level surface. We may be able to move them up and capitalize on that. And one of those horses who I bet very hard on Belmont Day, and I feel like I lost with about 5 lengths, the best horse, was Prince of Monaco. Prince of Monaco had a horrible start, sandwiched at the start, took a hard bump. How much of the wind that took out of his sails, we'll never know. But he went wide, covered a lot of ground. Bookham Dano got the jump on him, and he was still chewing up that ground in the middle of the track. And another jump or two, he actually wins the race despite the track, despite the break, and despite the horrendous trip. So that was, pretty bad, from a wagering standpoint for me, because it's horrible losing with the best horse. And I do believe Prince of Monaco was the best horse that day. He's probably going to run back in the 7 furlong 3-year-old race on the Travers undercard. And, barring any monsters appearing or, something weird happening, I'd have to think he's going to be awfully tough to beat in that spot, because normally he'd be sitting 2, 3, 4 lengths off the pace. And had he been in that position last Saturday, he'd have probably galloped. Like I said, I think he was literally 5 lengths the best. And Bob would have won 2 races. He would have won the Met with National Treasure, and that race with Prince of Monaco for a huge day, but wasn't meant to be. So that happens in horse racing. Sometimes, there's one way to win. There's about a million ways to lose, and that was about 2 or 3 of them right there rolled into one trip and one race and one break. So that's that. But Prince of Monaco was definitely ready to win that race, and is one to watch going forward for sure. Interestingly enough, and I don't know if this is going to be a popular opinion, unpopular opinion. Don't really care. It's my personal observation. But I think had Ken Mcpeek run Torpedo Anna in the Belmont as opposed to the Acorn, she might have given Dornoch all that he can handle and made a hell of a race out of it. That 3-year-old filly is awfully good. She tore a shoe off at the beginning of that race and ran the race with a shoe hanging off, and I think lost the shoe completely during the running of that race, which certainly didn't help the cause. And I've got to think at 1.25 miles, she'd have been awfully tough in the Belmont Stakes had Ken Mcpeek opted to go that route. He didn't. He kept it with the fillies, and I think that's what he's going to do. Maybe now he'll have some second thoughts. I don't know. But we had him on the show as well. We had Brian on the show. I mean, we had everybody. Frankie Dettori, Charlie Appleby, William Buick. We had everybody. The coverage on our Belmont Festival playlist is just phenomenal. And the whole Pastor Wyatt team did a phenomenal job. Big Race Jim and Eddie on the grounds were just awesome, and everybody back home in the studio was great too. So that was really cool. But she was awesome. She was devastating, and Kenny Mcpeek described her going into the Oaks as a grizzly bear, and she's done nothing to take away from that moniker to date. Now we'll get a little controversial because I like to do that, and I'm not afraid to do that. Saturday, the Belmont Festival ended. Naira did a pretty good job with everything except for the bathrooms and the chicklets, because there were many times that the chicklets were inaccurate as to how the race was being run. But that's an ongoing issue. What are you going to do? But I wasn't there, but I heard there was some bathroom line issues. But what's that got to do with horse racing? We're not here to discuss that, but I'm just mentioning it. But Naira did a really good job putting together some excellent racing cards, especially Friday and Saturday. Thursday and Sunday were nice cards. They were, nothing to really write home about, but they were nice cards. But, Friday and Saturday were outstanding cards. When it all was over on Sunday, there was something that happened out west at Santa Anita that I found very interesting. A horse by the name of Parenting, Justify Colt, who had only run once at 5.5 furlongs, stretched out in a graded stakes to 2 turns in the Affirm. The horse goes to the lead, pressure all the way, on the inside, gets headed a little bit on the turn, then re-engages, opens up, and wins the race, drawing away by himself in a class of his own under wraps. If that horse Parenting ran the day before in the Belmont Stakes the way he ran Sunday in the Affirmed, he might have given Dornoch all that he could have handled in just his second start. So Parenting, and sometimes it's not about time. It's not even about the number. The numbers don't lie, like I like to say, but sometimes visually you see something. And when I see a horse stretch out like that, take that kind of pressure, re-engage from the inside against more seasoned, experienced horses, and draw off and win, like he's at a different racetrack than the rest of the field. That's impressive. So as controversial and as bizarre or ridiculous or asinine as some people may say that statement is, I think that parenting runs the day before in the Belmont. He might have given Dornock all that he could handle. So that's a horse to watch going forward. May wind up in the Jim Dandy, may wind up in the Haskell. I don't know where he's going to wind up, but it's going to be somewhere. And that son of a gun can run. Make no mistake about it. And he's a Justified. We know the Justifies have been running phenomenal. City of Troy redeemed himself in the Epsom Derby. The horse I love, Notable Speech, who's going to be running next week at Royal Ascot, beat relatively easily. City of Troy came back. They were talking about running that Justify colt into Travers. Now I hear that's a no-go. They're going to keep him in Europe, at least for now. Hopefully we'll see him for the Breeders' Cup, but we don't know that yet. But the takeaways for me for the Belmont were, we were right with Prince of Monaco. We didn't get the money. We were wrong in a lot of other key spots. Measured Time, who won the Manhattan, is definitely one to watch going forward. That is one talented racehorse that's just learning the game. That horse will be heard from throughout the year, and that's another stone cold runner. So Measured Time should definitely be on your radar in the big races. We will be offering some Royal Ascot coverage this week. We'll talk about Notable Speech. We may even see a couple of others that are on our radar. So, stay tuned for that. But, Prince of Monaco, definitely a takeaway. With my thoughts on Torpedo Anna and my thoughts on parenting and how Sierra Leone ran in the Belmont and how Dornock rebounded in the Belmont, I got to say that the 3-year-old picture is, up in the air, up for grabs. Nobody's really asserted themselves as the clear-cut best of the bunch, leader of the division. And I think, the most exciting one of all may be the fresh one who just emerged on Sunday. And, those late coming to the party horses are always scary because they're fresh and dangerous and developing, while the others may be a little bit, more seasoned, but a little bit more, closer to empty on those gas tanks than the fresh one. So parenting, another one to watch, even though that's not directly related to the Belmont. He's a 3-year-old. So we're going to loop it into our Belmont takeaways anyway, because it's our show and we can do whatever we want. So we have that. We have horses that closed. Krupe, who won. I thought Krupe had a big shot in that race. When the track was playing the way it did, I thought that probably not going to happen. He was able to overcome it. Krupe's getting good. At least 3. Cogburn, Krupe. Who was the other? There was another one. I forget who it was off the top of my head, but at least 3 horses won Saturday that had won at Saratoga the year before. If you remember, we did a show, the hidden gem angles, the pure platinum angles of Saratoga. What was the main one? Horse for course. There's no bigger horse for course in the world than Saratoga. Horses that win there last year, win there the next year. Sometimes they don't win anywhere else and in between. So you had three big winners on Belmont Day that had won at Saratoga before, and the third one, it just escapes me. But it doesn't matter. There were 3. Cogburn, I know for sure. Krupe, I know for sure. If I had the chart in front of me, I would tell you right away. But it doesn't matter. There was another one. The horse that went off the favorite in the Krupe race, Ben Doog, I didn't think got a ride that was, conducive to him having his best chance at winning the race, unfortunately. So he might be one to watch going forward. He probably could have ran a lot better. Big shout out to Amwager, who sponsored us at the Belmont. And I encourage everybody to check out their platform. They're a great ADW. They got a great platform. They've got great promos. Tell them that we sent you. Show them a little love. And if you got an ADW that you like, there's nothing wrong with having two accounts and getting opening an account and getting a bonus. We're going to be doing more promos with them going forward. Maybe something a little special for the Breeders' Cup. We'll see. But they were very instrumental in helping us, bring the Belmont coverage to you all that we did. So big shout out to Amwager. So those are our main takeaways. There are going to be horses that run back that, were closers and didn't fire, or were closers and maybe only made up a little bit of ground when, normally they make up more ground than that. And I personally would pay particular attention to those horses when they run back, especially if they're in the right spot and on a fair racetrack. Because when the horses run back, and on tracking trips, we'll say this at the same time. We'll put a horse on tracking trips because of the trip, but you got to see where he runs back. Where they run back is used. It's just not an automatic. Sometimes I'll use them automatically because it's just I feel like I'm almost obligated to. But and a lot of times they win. But where they run back is always important. So with these Belmont horses and our Belmont takeaways, I would pay close attention to off-the-pace horses that didn't fire or didn't get up or didn't run, the kind of race that you expected them to run, because the track was a little, speed favoring, and, that does have an impact. And by that same token, some horses that went wire to wire and lasted, those races might look a little better than they actually were. So, I might downgrade some of those horses I think were aided by that, speed-friendly racetrack that we had up there. And why do they do that? Why do they make the tracks fast and speed-friendly? My theory is for the breeding aspect. They like to see fast times. Hopefully, they learned that running the Met Mile out of the Belmont chute, out of that Wilson chute, rather, was not the move to make. Although Bob Baffert and the connections and owners of National Treasure might argue that point, because he was awesome. He's really coming to his own. And if you remember, we did shows a year ago, 2 years ago at the Breeders' Cup. We said he was one of the best looking 2-year-olds on the ground. There's a huge race sitting in this horse. Loved him when he won the Preakness. He may finally be becoming the horse that I kind of thought he could be when I saw him at the Breeders' Cup at 2, but we'll see. He was awesome in the Met Mile. Destroyed him even despite that ridiculous Wilson shoot. So those are my takeaways. Gio had some that you can check out. His were more directly related specifically to the Belmont and how the horses that he liked and didn't like ran. Mine are more geared towards general things that we might be able to capitalize on going forward, because I like to look at these days and see how can we make money off it? How can we profit off it? How can we make a score off it going forward? So let's hopefully find ways out of this to do that. But I'm glad it's over. Got my butt kicked, finished licking my wounds, turned the page, ready for Royal Ascot, ready for the Foster Day at Churchill Downs, ready for Saratoga and Delmar right around the corner. So a lot coming, a lot happening. We'll be bringing everything to you here on Past the Wire TV. Everybody that tuned into the Belmont seminar, sorry that I was wrong in a couple of key spots. It happens. We'll get them next time. And remember, like I say, I'm a second set of eyes. I'd like to think seasoned, trained, experienced eyes, but always go with your own opinion. I'm just here to kind of, share mine and maybe bolster yours, or point out something that you may have, missed or not seen or not considered enough. And, that's what it's all about. So always ride your own decision. Never bet against yourself or your own opinion. I never do, no matter what. So I don't tell anybody to do what I don't do. So thanks for watching. A lot more coming. A lot of great racing to watch. Looking forward right now to Royal Ascot. We know we're deadly with those Europeans, so hopefully we come up with another notable speech or something like that. So thank you, everybody. Ciao for now.
In the 2023 First Crop Sires Race, Maximum Mischief makes the lead with the most 2-year-old maiden special winners by any sire. On the backstretch, Mitoli and Omaha Beach close the gap with stakes performers from coast to coast. Vino Rosso finds his best and leads on the turn with 4 Grade 1 colts on dirt. But it's Mitoli with his 3rd TDN Rising Star, your champion freshman, leading an impressive Spendthrift Superfecta.
With new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all 3 past performance formats. Go to drf.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Mini, a top 10 first crop sire in 2023, standing at McMahon of Saratoga. 14 first crop winners, including My Shady Lady, winner of the $500,000 New York Stallion Series 5th Avenue Stakes, Grade 2 winner Winstock, and Stakes winner Solo Shot. Solo Mini, the 7th leading freshman sire and the only top 10 freshman sire with a Grade 1 or Grade 2 winner. He sired a $700,000 2-year-old at the OBS April sale. His juveniles sold for nearly 6 figures on average, more than 12 times the stud fee. Solomini, a controversial DQ from being a Grade 1 winner by 2-time Horse of the Year Curlin, standing at McMahon of Saratoga Thoroughbreds. Sure Bet Coffee. Put the giddy up in your cup. Pick 6 King Jon Stettin. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit pastthewire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Does it better.